think that should work.
Yeah, thank you, Tinka. My name is Carl Lens. I'm based in the Netherlands, where I work for an organization called Justdiggit. Justdiggit is a foundation, and we are here. Our purpose is to cool down the planet by restoring landscapes in Africa. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. And actually, mitigation and adaptation is a bit it's a bit of both worlds. Actually, I am trying to, yeah, okay. So our vision is cooling down the planet, which is, Tinka, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a mitigation action, but we're actually focusing on adaptation to do this. So we're focused on African smallholder farmers to help them regreen their land with measures that are actually free, so they can practice it if they have the right information. They can practice this without any cost. And what we see here on the back is the regreening potential in Africa. So that's actually the areas where land is degrading and where we have the solutions for basically bringing back vegetation and livelihoods for farmers. So that's what I'm going to tell you more about. And our focus is really on vegetation, because that's the air conditioning of our planet, and it brings so many other advantages that I'm going to touch upon a little bit. But you can see it on a micro and a macro scale. So the micro scale here is pretty clear. Where there's vegetation, it's a lot cooler, and that is the same for if you look at the effects of vegetation on a much larger scale, regional, but even planetary. So that's what we do. We cool down the planet by bringing back vegetation, and we do that with a couple of techniques, and two of them I will tell a little bit more about. On the left, you see a picture of a farmer practicing FMNR, farmer managed natural regeneration, and that is a technique that basically brings back trees that have been cut down. So instead of planting trees, we teach people how they can identify the trees that have been cut down once and basically turned into bushes. So if you prune these bushes in the right way, this tree will become a healthy and mature tree within 2 years, and it will bring all the benefits that trees can give, which are plentiful. We can see that trees are basically the cheapest and highest impact way of regreening that exist. So talking about cost effectiveness, as one of the people here asked, this is cost effectiveness. It costs you nothing, and it will bring a lot of benefits. And okay, that's one of the techniques that we focus on. The other one is a water harvesting technique called water buns. We call them earth smiles because they look like little smiles in the earth. They're semicircular holes in the ground that can regenerate landscapes and at a massive scale. I think the next, no, not the next. Sorry, I'm moving too fast. But these techniques, they bring back livelihoods for the farmers that depend on the land where they're working. But of course, the benefits are much broader than that. It also brings back biodiversity. Animals can come back to the places where vegetation is coming back. And the most important thing, if we talk about farmers and about these techniques, are the livelihoods of farmers. So actually the key of cooling down the planet is working with, well, for us at least, you can do it in many ways. You can also focus on oil or anything, but we are really focusing on the livelihoods of farmers, showing them the benefits of taking care of their soils, using techniques that have been proven, that have been tested, that have been documented, that they can use to regrain their land and get more crop yields from their lands. So the earth smiles that I talked to you about are very nicely visible here in Pembamoto in Tanzania. With on the left where the half moon shaped holes that we dig, and these holes take care of the water in the sense that they stop it from getting too much speed, so that the soil is eroding, and it gives the water the time to soak into the earth and to let the seeds that we also plant inside these earth smiles and the root systems of those plants will hold to the next rains much better. So what you see is that within a couple of rains, that can take a couple of years, it can also be quicker. You see that in between the bunds, the vegetation is also coming back. So very, very effective. It does cost time, but it doesn't cost any money to do this. So the tree recovery technique I already told you about. We call this kisiki hai in Swahili, which means living tree stump, which is also important because FMNR is the technical term. That's not really the term that helps a lot when you want this method to be known by everybody. So you need to communicate about these techniques in a way that is nice for people, that people understand the benefits and want to start practicing themselves. At this point, we have one of the biggest FMNR programs in Africa with 23 million recovered trees by farmers in Tanzania, and we want to scale up. So we want to do this on a much larger scale, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So in total, we have 500,000 hectares of land under restoration with the techniques that I told you about, and a couple of other techniques. And that's enormous. So I've been to some of the project sites as well, and then you can walk for an hour to that side, and you still see buns everywhere, and another to the other side, and it's still buns everywhere. But then you zoom out to the whole of Africa, and then it's just a drop in the ocean. So we need to do this at a much different scale, and we need to speed up. We are also in a hurry as a regreening movement. So let's make this interactive, and we would love to learn from you a little bit, where you learn your agricultural techniques. So the interventions that we're focusing on today, where do you learn them? So is this from other farmers? Do you work with extension officers? Do you use books? Other things? Online channels. That's great. That's great. Yeah. So of course, this is not one solution. You often use a lot. But what you see is that online channels, in contrast to the others, they are really scalable. And scalable means that you make it once, and it can be used by infinite amount of people. So that's not true for all the other media that we have, and that's why we're totally focusing on digital tools, which I tell you a little bit more about. We have another poll already. Before I start telling about the way that we teach, I think this is the wrong one, the wrong poll, because this is an open question. We know a lot about the agricultural techniques that can help farmers adapt to climate change, and we want everybody to know about them. But what if you had a magic wand and you could teach 10 million farmers one thing with the swing of your magic wand? What would that be? What would have the highest impact?
Maybe you can explain how you're doing it, and then we can get back.
I will. Okay, so this is basically the question that we have, right? Because the solutions, if you're talking about solutions, they are already known. Then the solution for the problem of degrading land, they are already known. They are nature-based solutions. We can teach this to people, which we're already doing with tens of thousands of farmers. but we want to reach millions. So this is basically the question that we asked ourselves, and the answer is with digital regreening. So we learned a lot about the techniques that are the solutions. We know a lot about how to communicate about it, as well on the funding side. Well, here in the Netherlands, we do a lot of fundraising for the programs that we do. But also on the rural communication side, where we work with local communities to make these techniques well known, and of course working with partners. So if we digitize these three things, then they become scalable. Then they become something that doesn't cost much extra if you spread it to millions of people instead of thousands. So that's basically how we want to make impact, by digitizing the things that we've learned over the last decade. Then the next slide. This is what we think is a very important part of the solution of the communication challenge that we have. On the left, you see the regreening potential in African landscapes, and on the right, you see our app called Kijani, which is aimed at teaching the techniques that we know are successful for farmers, but totally online. More and more people have smartphones, so we want to reach those people with information about their land. Basically, information that's relevant for them. So on the basis of the location of their users, of these users, we can give personalized advice on the regreening techniques that can make a difference. I invite you to download it yourself. It's available in the Play Store. It's an Android app because most of the smallholder farmers in Africa are using Android, and you get a feeling of how that works. But just to show you a little bit of what we can do digitally, it's important to see the animations in this slide. Let's see how I can make it work. Yeah, so one of the advantages of using digital tools is that you can really clearly communicate your message. And we've tested this with quite some of the interventions that we teach normally in classroom settings. But the effectiveness of images like these, in this case explaining zai pits and grass barrier strips, are really effective in teaching people how to apply techniques that can retain water on their land, restore their soil, and bring back vegetation. These are the courses that we are teaching now. So as you can see, they are courses that don't take a lot of investment. So zai pits, for instance, is a rainwater harvesting technique that was already mentioned in one of the slides before. Grass barrier strips is a great other example that keeps water from causing erosion on your land and basically restoring your soil and retaining much more rainwater. So all these techniques are quite easy to learn. It's not very easy, beware. Just we have quite serious content in the app, but it doesn't cost you money. It's just a time and determination to make this work on your land, and it will guaranteed lead to results on your farm. So the poll is: do you know farmers who applied these techniques on their land? And of course, there are lots of shades of gray in this yes and no question. What we think is that a lot of the techniques that we teach are underutilized. So some people might have heard of it and they know it, but many people don't take full advantage of these techniques. So things like mulching and composting, there's no question about the effectiveness of these techniques. But if you really look to what is happening on farms, then there's a huge potential in getting benefits from these kind of techniques. So I would be surprised if there are a lot of no's here, but there are some no's, so that's great. I think these people that have a no, they would immediately benefit from just looking at the courses and finding the first thing to learn. But also on the yes side, there are a lot of things to further improve and to take to the next level.